Okay, Reed, I think we're ready for you.
All I have this morning is asking you guys if we could take the public transportation van on Sundays to Colby for EMT class. We've exceeded our number of people that we can fit in the pickup, which is a good thing. We've got 7 Cheyenne County makes it half the class in Colby, which is kind of exciting. But we've ran out of room. I don't know like the rules with the van, or if that's even a possibility.
And I don't know either, but I'm pretty sure Carol would have that answer.
Okay.
I'm not opposed to it. I mean, it makes sense if it's within the guidelines that, you know, for the
I
grant
was
of the
going to
money.
talk to her Friday about it when she was in here, and I completely forgot about it.
Why don't we let somebody approach her, you can, or Scott, and just to make sure, but other than that, I don't think I have a problem with that. That actually makes sense. But
It's our van.
yeah.
I did check with insurance. I said, you know, some of them won't be county employees. What about driving and all that? And she just said, give me a list with driver's license numbers and birthdays. And she said that
The insurance.
covered. Yeah, Roxy did.
Well, that transportation van can go anywhere.
Well, it's like you said.
It can
it's
go,
yours.
it's
I mean,
inside the county free, and it can go so much a mile outside, and I guess if we have to
The
pay
only
the...
thing I know of is, like, our drivers have to have CDLs to drive it.
That's a good point.
I don't know why they are.
Well, because
required.
it's a Class B vehicle, and you're transporting individuals, so that makes it a
that
CDL.
would, okay, so that would be might be an issue. I don't know who we
Might be, unless you got somebody with a CDL.
I don't know if Daryl, the chief of police, he's one of them. If
He
he's
should,
got a CDL.
he should have one, because he worked for the city.
Okay.
Whether he
So-
retained it, see, I used to have
Yeah,
one, but I
yeah.
got tired of paying the renewal fees on it.
I can talk to Carol, and then, just to make sure, talk to some other counties around.
Because we thought about sending in like our mobile command ambulance, but really, you know, even if you put 4 in the back and 2 up front, that's only 6. That's the big diesel. That doesn't seem real economical. You know, we can tell them to carpool and take their own and reimburse mileage, but that
See,
rate
that's the
is
point.
so high.
That's the point I was going to make. If we have several employees want reimbursement for mileage, we're not going to win anything there. But we could use that van.
And so
But that-
far, that's what they're doing. They're taking 2 vehicles, and one is just a student's car. And I told her either the county will reimburse her or the EMS auxiliary will reimburse her.
And these are always on Sundays?
Yeah.
It's not going to interfere with during the week time with the van?
That's why I'm hoping maybe these regulations don't apply, because
Well,
it's
that's, I'll just.
out of service that day for
We just-
the state
Yeah,
program.
we just need to make sure that we don't do anything to screw up the grant.
Yes, and I agree.
But I
And I'm confident that Carol would have the answer.
save the county money.
Save us money, and as Roger pointed out, it's our van anyway.
Well, if we have to pay mileage, like anybody else using it,
Yeah.
Pay 2 or 3 vehicles mileage. and-
right.
But you know, some of that money comes through the grant. I can see a couple of sticky points there on whether it can
Yeah.
be used for something other than what it was designated for.
And if all it requires is someone with a CDL, then we'll be fine.
Yeah, I think as long as you have a CDL, and we're hiring the transportation to deliver these people to Thomas County. Doesn't matter what day it is, but we have to have a CDL.
Yeah. How long?
Was that Myers might have one?
Yeah, you might.
Who?
Jeff?
Jeff Myers, he's working for that gas company, and maybe they have to have CDLs, I don't know.
But they'll need a Class B, a B or an A,
Okay.
to cover both of it.
Okay. Well, I can sure this then. And then, like, Is it possible to get a motion on this pending, Carol? So we don't have to meet again, or do you not want to do that?
Yeah, let's wait, let's get some more
Don't your
information.
ambulance drivers have to have a CDL?
No, you're exempt.
Firemen and EMS are exempt.
Kinda odd you have to have one to haul cows, but not people.
That's right. Gotta get your priorities right, yeah.
All right, we'll get more info and then just get back with you.
Yeah, I think we need some more before we go forward. That's great, I kinda like the idea, so,
All right,
Sounds like a good idea.
thank you, Reed.
Yep.
Okay, I'm assuming you're Jerry.
I am Jerry.
All right. Good morning.
I think your KDOT question, I think as long as you stay in the state, I mean, if you go across the line, that's a problem.
Now we're talking about interstate
But-
commerce.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Oops, wrong direction. It says county clerk, not that it matters. I'll lay it here. Extra is a highly coveted
Yes.
role. All right. Well, Commissioners, thank you for taking a few minutes of your time to hear the report for developmental services in Northwest Kansas and for the calendar year 2016. I think we put a letter to you all at the first part of June to be in front of your budget cycle, and kind of bouncing back just briefly to our last conversation, and what I understood the desire of the commission was to try to find a way to find resources for what we do, and I definitely appreciate that. If I might, I'll catch up on a couple of key things that have been happening in the state that you may or may not be aware of. One, we came through the legislative session, and we really weren't sure exactly where things were going to land there. But for the first time in almost a decade, the legislature appropriated a slight bump in our rates, which is good news. The bad news is it's moving in the right direction, but it doesn't correct the challenge. And so I am happy that we're seeing a move in the right direction, but we still have lots of work to do. Quicks on DSNWK. We're not a governmental entity, as in like a state. We're not part of the state. We work with the state. We're a 501c3, celebrating 50 years this year. Let's see here. What key takeaways? So in addition to that change here locally in Medicaid, the next threat that showed up was, and if you've been following the national debate, it has had, up until just a few days ago, had the real potential threat of drastically changing the resources that are in our system. Drastic. 25% reduction in the federal portion of the monies that we receive.
Wow.
It is huge, especially when the state and the federal government on the Medicaid waiver service, the state puts up about 40%. The feds drop 60%. So if you slice that by a quarter, you're talking, and that's all across the nation.
Yeah, and the state doesn't have the means to catch it.
And they wouldn't catch it. There's just no way. So it's not resolved because that whole health care bill, and we could talk a long time about it, but whenever you hear Medicaid, the term Medicaid, what we do in terms of long-term services are part of that bucket. And sometimes I've heard this a number of times, people will say, well, that deadbeat that sits on his porch that could get a job, that might be Medicaid dollars, but all of them kind of get thrown into the same, and it's the baby with the bathwater in terms of addressing any of those kinds of issues. So we're continuing to work with our national leaders, Senator Moran and Senator Roberts, to educate them on what that's all about, because the alternative is it really is a disaster. In addition to the state funding and the rate increase, which again are happy for that, there was some proviso language that occurred this session. I'll try to condense it and simplify it. Language from the legislature to the administration that said consolidating all the systems like mental health, developmental disabilities, let's see what else is in there, physical disabilities, frail elderly, all into 4 entities. They call them Aging and Disability Resource Centers. Right now in Kansas, those are the AAAs. There's 11 of them, and what this effort was to put everything all into those things, where our region, which is 18 counties now, went beyond Manhattan. It just grew, and there's a point where you lose. Hi, Bonnie. Good morning.
Waiting for you.
Oh, I know. I jumped the gun. Here. They were wanting to consolidate all those things into one, which, in my opinion, it was way too much, and people would lose connection. So the legislature said, "Don't do this," with a veto-proof majority. Said, "Don't do this," both in the House and on the Senate. The governor exercised line item veto, with some verbiage about he's not going to consolidate those things without meaningful input. I don't know what that all means in terms of real protection, but I wanted to throw it out to you because I hope that doesn't change. Yeah, but if you should hear something, I just wanted to give you a heads up that there's been some wheels turning in the background, and again, we've been serving the population of folks with intellectual and developmental disabilities for 50 years. The current law started in the mid-'90s, but before that, we were called Community Mental Retardation Centers, CMRCs. So that system about managing services has been in place for a long, long time. We kind of know what we're doing. That's not a statement of pride, but we just do. And when you work with folks, it's important. So those were the couple of the key things on the federal level. I already touched on the Affordable Care Act and CMS, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid. But there's another piece that's hanging out there, which is the Department of Labor and a exemption ruling. And I think we may have talked about this before because this has been brewing for a while. It's where they take for exempt staff, salaried employees. There are 4 or 5 components that you have to meet the threshold, one of which is a salary threshold. That base salary was $23,660 as a salary threshold. Last year, DOL ruled on December 1, that threshold moved to $47,004. Oh, it more than doubled, or nearly doubled. And lots of folks were saying, "What in the world are you talking about? What barometer are you following on this?" This got held up in the courts in Texas. And so it's been on stay. We did not implement the changes. What it would have meant is those salaried people that are below that new threshold, which would have been most everybody, we would have had to start paying overtime, which there's no new money to pay overtime. And yet, how do you accomplish your tasks in doing that? So that's a catch-22. Okay. It was on stay. There's new movement on that, and hopefully they'll come back to a reasonable new salary threshold. So, but again, it's another one of those would be an unfunded mandate that would hit our system. So, okay, I'm going to stop there, and we'll go quickly to the reports for the county. The blue sheet is our accounting for the folks from Cheyenne County, serving 2.75, but that's a real person. The services that we provide include those listed there on the left: College for Living's day service, job placement, employment, that's kind of self-explanatory, residential, infant, toddler, transportation, and TCM. Those are the services that are provided. The local funds would be the difference between what we would receive from federal and state funds for those folks, and what it costs, and that would be the difference. I will say that what it costs, our expenses had remained relatively static because we haven't seen any rate increases. We haven't given raises, those kinds of things, which would obviously elevate those costs. So that's been pretty static coming along the line there. 38,810 was the cost of service. 34,693 was the amount of federal and state funds received, leaving a balance of local support. That's generally what we've come to counties asking for their support. I know up until last year, you all had been funding at that level of 8480, and so our request would be anything that you can do to move us back to where we were. That was a pretty difficult thing to weather through. The economic benefit sheet is the yellow copy, and this is an aggregate view for the 18 counties for developmental services. That expenditures, breakdowns, just about a little over $9 million in economic benefit. If you look at the 5-year trend from 12 to 16, you see that those overall revenues have dropped by a little over 1.3 million. That's just in reductions, and that's been our reality. So we've shrunk. We've tried to be the absolute best stewards with the resources that we get, but our system has been starved. And again, hopefully, we're on a little bit of an uptick in terms of state funding, but it always seems like it's under threat. The services that we provide are absolutely necessary services. Oftentimes when they're not provided, people end up in other ways. They might end up in mental health, in the legal system, and in jails, and those kinds of things. So there is an economic impact. We're glad that we're a part of Northwest Kansas, and our mission continues to drive us forward. The last sheet is the kind of two-sided sheet called DSNDB Case Impact. It identifies the people, where they're served, the number of folks in each type of service, and up in that upper right corner, I didn't mention this yet. The waiting list in Kansas is, last number I saw was like 3,700 plus people waiting in the whole state for intellectual and developmental disabilities. 3,700. For Northwest Kansas, it's a little over 100. I think it's 103. And then for Cheyenne County, I think there's one young man that's on the wait list. Now, being on the wait list is one step. Last number I saw was 8 years waiting. 8 years.
And that's directly related to funding?
It absolutely is related to funding. These people qualify, but their resources are not available. And that's really the sad thing, as people go through the school system, through special ed, they're trained and they're learning how to kind of be independent, and yet they graduate to the couch. in mom and dad's place. Sometimes it's just mom, sometimes it's just dad. That it's a difficult walk. And so there's so much work to be done, but that waiting list number that's just staggering to me, because the need is right now, and even when you're on the list, I think 2009 people that were on the list then, their names come up. When people exit the system, a person dies in the system, those monies roll back, and my hope is that the state is rolling new people in, but we don't see those things. Every now and then we see a person from our region comes off the waiting list because we just get notice, and we reach out to families and begin that process of getting them plugged in. So,
In what state entity?
that do we work with? Kansas Department of Aging and Disability Services, KDADS, but we also work with KDOT in terms of public transportation. So that county question that you were talking about before, I think you're right on the need for a CDL, but I digress. So, do you have any questions, or Bonnie, do you have anything?
Well, just to let you know, we did, in our proposed budget for 2018, we did add back in the $8,480
Thank you.
for 18.
Thank you. Deeply appreciate it.
Because during 17, that number went to 0.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're already,
Right. Thank
already
you.
back in.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just for my information.
Yes.
Is there like a school or something in Ellis why there is so many?
You have to look, that's a great question. If you look back at the origin of developmental services, we started small. One of the first communities we were in was Hayes in Ellis County. And so it grew from there. And then as time went on, services started in Hill City. Then they were added in Atwood. And before, that's how we kind of grew. We grew, I think, Bonnie has been on the board. She's one of our founding board members. And I believe it was, half a dozen people when we first started? And then it kind of grew.
I think a little bit, but I believe it was more than that.
Yeah. But it was families who wanted something different, because the alternative was state institutionalization. And that's, we've come a long ways. But so that's why there's such a
Such a big
such a
number in
footprint,
Alice.
such a big footprint. We've had some challenges even in our area in Atwood. As an example, was it last year and a half ago, where finding labor, having a workforce, and I'm sure you all experienced that. We've got low unemployment, and the demand for those folks, I don't want to kind of scare anybody, but if you look at the projection going forward, as the general population ages, the demand on direct support types of roles, not just in intellectual and developmental disability world, but in general, there's a balloon coming through, and the demand for those folks is going to be even greater, which is kind of a scary thought. And we're working to try to plan around that, but it takes people, and in order to get people, it takes resources, and so we're working hard at that, because we want to remain strong for Northwest Kansas, absolutely. One of the other pieces that I'll throw out is, and I may have mentioned this the last time we met, was we've walked into the path of a capital campaign, and right now we're in the quiet phase of that. So, thank you very much. We've been walking through that and talking with folks about creating an alternative way, a different way to bring in additional resources by partnering with people who recognize our mission and want to do something about it, knowing that the realities that we're facing. And so that's a new territory for us. And so we're walking in that way. So, but we absolutely appreciate our connections with you all. I thank you again for your support. Means
service for
means the world.
Northwest Kansas.
Means the world to us.
Yeah.
So, unless you have any other questions,
Well, I thank you for having us in your budget, because I had my little speech already.
You had it ready to go, and I blew that, didn't I?
But thank you, and as Jerry said, I have been on from the beginning, and how happy Vicky was. I don't know, I think you all know that we had a mentally retarded daughter, and all of these steps we've fought for, and
And it's a big fight, isn't it?
it's a big fight. It's, I mean, if you haven't been there, you don't know how frustrating it can be, because you see that this child of yours can do more, but
Without
They
the
can't.
opportunity.
they can't keep up in the regular classroom and all of these things. So thank you for your help, and I'll be back.
Okay.
I'll keep my speech.
Keep that speech, we'll hear it next year.
You just love that.
Is that dodging the bullet? Maybe not. So anyway, unless you all have any questions for us, my telephone is right there if you have any questions about this, and we will definitely keep you posted on the latest, because it's kind of a wild ride sometimes.
Well, thank you.
All right. Very
Thank
good.
you, sir.
Take care. Have a good rest of your day. Yeah, thanks.
Well, we do have some of the best employees that it's not money can buy, it's commitment.
Yeah, time is more valuable than a dollar.
All right.
All right, thanks. I believe we're ready for Justine.
I'm Justine from the Planning Commission. I've met with you all before. I am just here about the ambulance closeout project. So we did publish in the paper that we're going to hold a public hearing. So I just need a motion to open that public hearing for the ambulance project.
And you can do that public hearing today?
Yeah,
Right now?
it has to be in your meeting.
Okay.
It should take less than 5 minutes.
Right. Need a motion to go into a public hearing versus the ambulance, give me the terminology again.
The ambulance CDBG project.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Unless this costs more money, then we won't do it.
Oh, no, we're going to request some money.
Okay.
Okay, our project went as scheduled. Everything went well. We were actually under budget by $7,000. So the state saved about $3,200, and you guys saved about $4,400. So that was good. The grant actually paid out $111,000, and then your guys' match was $81,716.03, as you know. It's a wonderful benefit to your community, and I know Reed was very happy with it, and it's already been out and in use. So do you guys have any questions on the grant project?
No, as long as it went smooth, I think we're happy.
Okay. Was there any concerns? No? Okay, we can go ahead and close the public meeting, and then I just need a motion for the closeout, and then we're done.
I move we close the public meeting.
And close out of the,
Has it got to be a different motion?
Yeah, it has to be two different motions.
okay. You want them together or you want them separate?
Separate, it has to be two different ones.
I move we close out the meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Gotta leave us alone.
Yeah, hold their hand here. What do you want us to do?
Okay, here is paperwork for what I will be submitting, so you guys can look over it. The first one that I gave you is just the closeout paperwork. This is going to tell the state exactly what we did. There's a quarterly report in there saying what our progress was, and then in the back there was that performance public hearing, this meeting that was scheduled in the paper. And that second paperwork that's there, this is the last request that we're actually going to do. This is my last admin bill, which is all on the state side. And then also, since we were under budget, that performance public hearing notice, I'm going to give you guys the money. I think it was like $49. So that'll just be a credit to you guys. So you can just transfer it from this account to your account. And then whenever you get the funds, I can come pick up a check if you want to mail it, whatever works. We'll just be in contact once that goes in. So the last thing that we need to do is I just need a motion for the closeout for the grant number 16PF015.
I so move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then if I can just have you sign on the pink tabs there. And I'll go ahead and send that in. We did want to let you guys know, this year our projects are pretty slim on our list. I think we have maybe 6, probably 4 are going to pan out. Usually we have 10 or above. So this is a good year to apply. You guys do have your survey. So if you ever want to come up with another project for anything, or any towns in your county, let them know that we're here to help you, and we can do whatever you guys need. We actually just talked to the city of St. Francis, and they're thinking about a possible water project. Too late for this year, but next year we're thinking we're going to do that. So, but since you guys have a valid survey, you don't have any really work to do. You just can complete the project. So, do you guys have any questions for me?
What is usually the percentage of the grants? And they vary?
What do you mean, like match?
What our match percent?
50% gets you full points. You required is 25%. So, and you can apply for up to $600,000 now. That's the new standard. So it's a wonderful program. If you watch anything in the news, I know Trump's wanting to cut it, so we're really trying to push for HUD funds to continue because it helps all of our counties. So we've really done a lot of projects and helped a lot of our counties. So that's right there, yeah. And do you have your seal on? And that's all. If you guys don't have anything else for me, I really appreciate working with all of you. So,
Well, thank you.
And you can be in contact with me anytime.
All
So.
right.
Well, thanks for all your work.
Yeah, thank you. It was a pleasure to work with you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks.
We need to be in this program.
Thank you so much.
So this is $970, the amount that she wants.
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll look at it here. Okay, good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, everybody.
I believe we're ready for you.
All right.
Maybe I'll start with the apartments. So, apartments 7, 8, and 9 have mostly been salvaged out by Ron. And apartment 10 now is vacated, so as soon as I know that he's paid for the salvage there, he's free to come and take what he needs.
He did write a check for apartment 9.
Yeah, he's been there. That was a couple weeks ago.
So it's up to him to get in here.
Yeah,
Get
I need to
straight
call him
10.
and remind him, or inform him that it's ready for that now.
one of his concerns was one of the washing machine, I believe, does not work. So we just plan on deducting the value of that off of what he's.
I think it was a washing machine dryer unit. I think the dryer unit stopped working.
Okay.
But, yeah.
If that's agreeable with him, I think that's what we're going to do.
Okay. So then it's going to sit there empty for 2 months, this apartment building. That's sad but true.
Yeah. Lots of sad things.
Yeah. Well, as far as the construction company had a small team there last week, and they got started with some work on the inside, shifting some of the rooms and some of the contents of the rooms prior to the asbestos abatement, which is supposed to begin next week, Monday. And it's their approach is very disruptive, and we're having a meeting this afternoon, try to work out a way that works for everybody.
Well, it's too bad we didn't have the meeting prior to, but
Well, this never came up before, but they were thinking that the residential area is going to be sealed off from the rest of the building for 3 months. That the residents would be pushed to the other side of the building on the outside. This was never discussed before. That was supposed to be for carts, kitchen carts, bringing food over later. So anyway, there needs to be some discussion there. And so, for our report, I'm sorry, but the financials are not looking good for June. And hopefully, it should be temporary because we're getting some CNAs trained and to be hired. In the meantime, we're forced to use agency temps. On the positive side, our nursing shortfall is pretty much solved now. We're not using agency for nurses. But for CNAs, we got someone decided it's more convenient for her to work for home health, so she went to home health. We got another CNA, it's off on medical leave for a hip replacement. And other than that, we're short anyway. But there have been 2 CNA trainings. One just finished at Colby Community College, and we're getting a couple of graduates from there, and then the hospital and the village have a joint CNA training going on right now. And
when does that conclude?
The last clinical day, I think, is August 11th.
So you're going to be able to utilize these people pretty quick.
Yeah, they got to pass their exam, but within a week or 2 of graduating, Colby Community College will offer an exam. And if they pass the exam, then yeah, they're ready to go.
Yeah, you're going to have to go back to March and April.
Yeah, wouldn't it? Yeah, I'm not happy about the way it stands right now, but we got a fix in place.
When does your contract run out with us?
June 30th next year.
Well, we need to start getting to work on this.
Yeah.
And I think we need to have some information. And I know, Jeff, you're probably not the one that can give it to us, but we just need to see some accounting. Just a loss at the end just doesn't cut it for me.
I got May here and I got June. The revenues and the expenses. And if you look on the nursing section, you see big overages. Just this section here. So that's for June, this one's for May. But if you're interested in this that section in there, contract nursing services.
So you're spending,
More than we want, but we have to supply quality of care, and we're not having way too many staff on, it's just that it's so expensive. There's one agency nurse that comes in for a night shift, so she's pretty reliable and she's good, but she lives in Hayes, so
so this
Back and
this
forth.
$16,413, that's her salary plus,
well, it's not one. It's
Several.
all the different ones that are
but that service on that, let's say,
yeah
to fill the slot or the hole in your
open
facility.
shifts. Yeah,
$16,000 a month, wow,
that's a lot.
that is a lot. Well, you know us, we're always concerned about the bottom line, especially negative numbers. We just like to see those improve.
Yeah, well, we tried to recruit to hire CNAs out there. We don't get any applicants because there almost are none. So we had to turn towards getting some
Train
trained,
your
and
own.
that takes a few months from start to finish.
How many are in your CNA class?
10.
And how many are seeking employment?
Well, they all are, but some are recruited through the hospital.
Also, there's
So it's a joint program, yeah. Some are referred by the hospital, I think 6, and 4 were referred by us. And then there's another class that had just finished with Colby, and there are a couple of females there that are interested to work with us when they pass their test.
So are we paying schooling for them?
We're obliged to by state regulation, yeah.
So what are they obliged to?
Not much. I think they buy their books.
Yeah, but are they obliged to spend so many years here?
We can't do that. No, the state doesn't allow it.
But we can.
It's
but they-
it's unconditional for them.
Do they have to pay back the schooling to
No.
us?
No. That'd be illegal.
Illegal.
Yeah. There's a statute that if we hire a CNA, we have to pay for their training, a new CNA. Yeah. Or the hospital has to pay.
But they don't have to work here if they don't want to.
No, that provided that they're hired. But there's no obligation on their part to have to spend any amount of time. We researched it, and that's how it reads. It's the state's effort to promote more trained healthcare personnel. And the whole deal is one-sided.
Well, then let the state pay it.
Well, that would be... well, that would be nice, but that's not
So
how it is.
what's the approximate cost to train a CNA
Through Colby Community College, about $800.
per person?
Yeah.
You've
And,
got 10 in there, so
but if we do it through our program, which is an online course, it's 500 plus. Because Colby has classroom training, so they have a clinical instructor and a classroom instructor. Instead of a classroom instructor, we have the online training,
yeah, you bypass the.
so it saves a few $100s. No, I understand. It's not what I want. It's not what you want. But
Well,
kind of in a bind.
if these numbers improve over the next 3 months, it won't be quite so concerning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for another month, they'll be on the high side, but then they should start to improve.
All right, well, we'll anxiously await that improvement.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
That's really all I have. There is a meeting this afternoon with our construction company. I think John Grace will be there too.
I saw that.
And work out details. And the task force has a meeting at 10 and back here at 11.
Okay. All right, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. Okay, see everybody later.
All right. Good morning, Natalie.
Good morning.
Can I warm my coffee up before?
Sure. How are you guys?
Good.
Good. I'm just back before you guys. I got an email from Nick Riley a week or so ago that from the time he gave us his first bid till when he went to order the doors, the price had increased some, plus they had not included frosted glass on one of the doors like he had requested. And they recommend that we use their push-button lock system instead of the $100 locks we can get from Home Depot or whatever. So all of that included, it raised his bid about $1,800, I think. Yeah. Which is still $280 some less than
Below the next
bid.
submitted.
So wanted to get your thoughts on that, if you want me to go ahead and proceed or
You got the money in your budget.
well, Cody I think is still offering some from his, and Leslie still has some earmarked in the diversion fund, I think. So that's half of it.
So
And the other half would
basically
still come out of my
covered anyway.
budget. Yep.
I don't have any trouble with it. I just.
It's frustrating that
No,
things.
the legal side of it.
Oh,
We've accepted the bid. Now the bid's going up.
Should they
Do we reissue bids?
rebid or?
I mean,
I don't know the answer to that
I
either.
don't know either.
And right off the top of my head, no, I
Don't know
don't
either.
either, given the circumstances, because I know things like this have happened before.
Sure.
However, in regards to the proper procedure, I think I need to look that up before anything is done.
That's probably
I
a good
just don't
choice.
want the other people that bid coming in here and saying, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay. And then.
I'm not trying to stop your project.
Oh, no, that's fine. The other thing is too, is this company that Nick is dealing with, if we get to that point, they require 50% down before they start manufacturing the doors. So that's something to keep in mind once we find out what we need to do.
I don't see a problem with it, but yet,
No, I understand. I agree. I think, make sure.
Supposing he does get the bid. And we have to pay 50% down. Are they gonna guarantee us the price ain't gonna go up again?
I don't know.
Well, I'd get that in writing from that company.
Yeah. I agree. Sounds good. So I'll just wait to hear from
Yeah, this is
Leslie,
kinda
or do we need to
dragging
come
out,
back?
yeah, I'm sorry.
That's
No, I
okay.
think that's a very proper thing to.
I agree.
Very good point.
I think what we'll do is, Natalie, if you'll send me an email
Sure.
to remind me to look into this, and I will look into it, and then proper action will be taken at the next meeting.
Okay.
Perfect. That'll be fine.
Okay?
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Are you sore?
I am sore today. Golf is hard.
Sheriff Beasley.
I'd like to start off by going into executive session about unelected personnel.
I move we go into executive session for 10 minutes, 15.
Okay. 10 minutes prior.
10 minutes?
Yep.
Second.
All those in favor?